they have no clue who Khan is. So they're probably just like, okay, so that's your name? Okay. I don't know why. I don't know why you're shouting at me right now.
Is that with a C or a K at the beginning?
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and this week I'm joined by Bafflegabbers Jonathan Watkins.
Hello.
And Ian Whittington.
What's up, mother cussers?
But hey, real quick,
yeah.
My name, I just want to say real quick, it's still October. This is technically our Halloween episode. And
okay.
If you look on Twitter, I believe you would see my name is John Satan Witchkins right now.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough.
That's a fair correction. Yeah.
It just rolls right off the tongue.
For many
Satan
Halloweens,
Witchkins.
I have been Scare and Slice her.
Nice.
But I did not do that.
I had never done that before. This was my first year. But see, I'm at Sam Loomis 13, which is kind of always a Halloween name.
Yeah.
So
just a little bit.
Always confusing.
Just a little bit.
It's what I try for.
That's like Ian still calls Jonathan Sam every once in a while. He can't figure it out.
Right.
Can't figure it out.
I feel like there's
I'll
a
go
Sam
buy
Loomis
anything.
out there that's really angry that somebody called Jonathan has stopped them from having their own handle.
And their favorite number's 13.
Yeah,
Someone
exactly.
out there hates you so much.
We write for CinemaSins, TV Sins, and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. Good to have you guys on. I'm excited to chat about the stuff from this week. We are going to, of course, go over the videos and then talk about some of the behind the scenes with different fun things that happened during the process, as well as some of your feedback during the process as well. I will say before we get started, we just recorded a Boney Pod for our Sin Club members where we all did terrible impressions, and all three of us putting it out there that we just don't have anyone that we can imitate very, very well, except for maybe Ian, whose Captain Kirk did not sound at all British, at all English, just very, very American Captain Kirk.
He did it in Spanish. It was interesting. So.
Which makes no sense.
Donde está la Klingons?
So anyhow, if you want to check that out, if you are already a Sin Club member, it should be there for you. If not, maybe you want to check out what it means to be a Sin Club member at patreon.com/cinemasins. We would love to have you on the crew. Have a lot of fun hanging out over there. All right, let's get into it, guys. We'll kick it off with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them, how we felt about the show/movie in general, or commercial, or music video, whatever the case may be. We start in the commercial sins world. What is this commercial? Someone help me out. It's for like cologne, right? Am I getting that part right? We're dealing with wild animals in the desert and guitars, but it's about cologne. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
You're there.
It's
That's
Sauvage. Is that what it's called?
From Dior, and it's a Johnny Depp commercial. So what did you guys think of this? I think Barrett wrote this one. Jonathan, why don't you kick us off? What are some of your thoughts about what's going on here?
I'm not really a cologne person. I'm not saying I've never worn it, but I don't know that it's something I go to. I'm pretty much just throw some deodorant on and, we'll see what happens.
Me too, for the most part.
Yeah, there's nothing, I don't have anything against it. I just, I have pretty sensitive skin though, so sometimes that's an issue with some things, so I've just always kind of avoided it. So I don't have a personal, opinion about the product. It's just weird seeing Johnny Depp because, it's just so weird to think about how huge he was and how now he's, going through what he's going through and just, I don't know what the correct way to put his career currently is. It's in a hold of some sort, but it's just really weird to see him and to just think, wow, that guy was everywhere. I don't know what year this was. I didn't look it up, but
that's a good piece. I didn't look that up either. So maybe I should do that.
I'm sure it's around about early Pirates of the Caribbean. I remember it coming out around that time.
Okay, so kind of when he's at his pop culture peak, then the first Pirates of the.
Sense.
I mean, I know he obviously has done a lot of stuff and has been in a lot of stuff before that, but is there a bigger Johnny Depp moment than Pirates?
No, and I would say maybe until Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man, I don't know that there was a bigger star
right.
on the planet, for those like 5 years or whatever it was. And then even after that, he still kept making a bunch of movies. But I'm just saying, like, he was huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Did you have any other thoughts on the video?
But I mean, the video was funny. I mean, the commercial was terrible. I like you said, I had to think about what it was even for. When it was, in fact, that was one of the sins I wrote down was, what the balls does this shit have to do with moving product?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the early ones. And then I also enjoyed I don't know why, but when he the dog looked up and it said, "You woke up Balto, you noisy asshole."
Yes, that was hilarious. The Balto shout out.
Balto reference.
Yeah, little Balto shout out. Nice. What about you, Ian? What were some of your thoughts on this one?
Full disclosure, I haven't watched it because I thought we were doing the Mentos video. Because the email, I'm sure the prep email said to be confirmed, and I just looked at the most recent video on commercial scenes, which I think is the Mentos one.
Correct, because when we record this,
right?
we record this the day that those go live. So when we start recording, it hasn't gone live yet. Yeah.
Good.
Well, you know what?
I can talk about the Mentos one.
Absolutely. Well, this is a good place to mention this because I haven't mentioned this. Last week was a special episode that we popped in. And so we didn't talk about stuff from last week. We're not necessarily going to cover everything from last week. We have a couple things. We have one thing specifically that we want to hit on. But since you watched the Mentos one, we can talk about that because it is a very famous commercial. So yeah, what did you think about that one?
I forgot how the 90s were. The 90s happened, but then when you see footage from it, it's like,
I was there.
Yeah, I was a full-grown adult in the 90s, so,
Yeah, I was not.
I remember when that Foo Fighters video came out, that was like the peak Mentos and then everybody thought they were funny by pretending to hand you a Mentos and smiling at you. It was good times.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I love that. I love the video. There's something about Chris's tone that it's just like another level of snark. Like all of the videos are snarky, but Chris just lays on like an extra level of authority to the snark that he has. I love it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of aggressiveness to it.
Yes.
Like the anger dial is just a little bit from some of the other. I hear what you're saying for sure.
I enjoy writing for him. I enjoy writing for that voice.
Definitely.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
But the fact that who wrote on the Mentos one?
I don't have that information because I wasn't planning on talking about that one, but I can go look it up pretty easily.
I just
amazing. Don't have it in my notes, but I can look it up.
Yeah,
you can keep going. You can keep going.
Anyway, the scene, just the observation that the inspiration for the idea came after he ate the gum is so fundamental to the advert. Like, how did that get past anybody? Like, just a few seconds between eating the gum and the idea appearing, it changes everything. Now the idea has nothing to do with the mint.
Yeah. Chris wrote this one. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And just bench fucker. That was all. We see you bench
Mentos are
fucker.
still a thing, though, right?
Oh, sure.
Like, they still
you
exist.
can find
don't
Mentos.
they?
Yeah. Yep. I just enjoy. You mentioned the Balto one, which I definitely enjoyed from the Johnny Depp thing. I, like you, am not necessarily a cologne person. I did have, as many men of my age, had a Drakkar Noir phase growing up. But yeah, nothing much past that other than my favorite deodorant. But the dissing of all the Johnny Depp films, the call-outs of in this video were just great. I loved that stuff. I thought it was funny. All right, let's move into TV sins. This is where we wanted to make sure we touched on one from last week that we didn't get to, and that is because we did an Insta-sin on the Squid Game pilot. Excited
we did
to get this out there. Jonathan and Ian writing on this one. And this was one of those things, we didn't have this on the schedule. In case you didn't remember when this just happened, a couple weeks ago or whenever Squid Game came out, nobody had heard of this thing. And then it was all anybody was talking about. Like, there wasn't some sort of list I could have gone to that would have been like, oh, Squid Game is coming out and it's going to be huge. And so we didn't have it scheduled because here, obviously we schedule things enough out that we can write them, get them produced, get them up on the channel in a timely fashion. And so we kind of did just like a really quick shuffle, and basically the video that Ian and Jonathan were writing on that week In fact, Ian had already written his script for that video when
That
we
message
were
was
doing
great.
this.
It's like, by the way, Ian, that script that's
Listen,
due,
this is
you
why
haven't started it yet, have you?
This is why procrastination is a valid work ethic. I'm telling you, this
it's
is
not.
part. No, this is just in the pro column. I'm not saying that there aren't cons. I'm saying this is one that gets to go in the pro column for procrastination. But anyhow, Ian and Jonathan very gamely, very nicely were like, yeah, let's do it. And I believe it was also trading like a 20-minute episode or something for an hour-long episode. So there was that extra bit of it as well. So I was very, very thankful for you guys for stepping up to the plate on this. And you guys killed it. Absolutely love this video. And it was so fun to be able to, kind of cross our fingers that it would clear, all that fun stuff. And then it didn't, but then
tense.
it did. And so we were able to get it out fairly quickly so that you guys could see it. But yeah, Squid Game. Ian, why don't you kick us off with some of your thoughts as kind of that whole process and this show and, all that stuff.
Yeah, it was within, you must have known because it was within about an hour after I'd finished the script that we were running with that week. And you were just like, hey, instead of doing that, could you do this? And I was like, yeah, no, that's fine. I could totally do that. I just sit down. Because the time difference is a bit weird, I tend to work a little bit later. So I kind of just finished. And I was like, I'm going to do something no, I'm not. I'm going to go write some more sins.
Well, I will say the thing that goes in the pro column for working ahead is the fact that now you have that script done. It's still on the,
Oh, I've got one in the pocket. Absolutely.
Yeah, you've got one in the pocket
so there's
now.
a week where I can just put my feet up all
right,
week.
yes, that's how it works around here. Yes.
But this was my first, hey guys, I think we need to down tools and get on this as soon as possible, and this bypasses everything else, because who knows, the buzz for Squid Game has already essentially dissipated.
It's starting, right? It's already in hindsight. Yeah. And
exactly. Within a couple of weeks it will be completely gone entirely.
And I still don't understand why Netflix thinks that's a good thing. I still don't understand why they don't want to own pop culture with this stuff. But
I don't know. I don't know though. It depends on. There's still some things that are. Stranger Things is still definitely a show that gets watched and talked about constantly. Sure. I think so. It's possible. I think. I know SNL doing that sketch that we mentioned in the pre-show. I mentioned in the pre-show. I know that gave it. I think that gave it a huge boost. All of a sudden, the last week, views were up and all that kind of stuff. So who knows?
Yeah.
I think there's a part of it they couldn't have predicted how crazy Squid Game was going to be. I think if they rolled the clock back and knew how massive it would, they probably would delay and just do one episode a week. But they put out.
No, they would. It's their ethos.
Do you not think?
No, that's their ethos. They hate doing weekly. The only stuff they do
They've
weekly
only done it a few times.
Is reality TV, a reality game show like The Circle, and even those they put out 3 or 4 a week. And then they had a talk show with what's the guy's name from The Soup? Joel McHale.
Well, they had one with Chelsea Handler.
Yeah, well, so something that's based on current events obviously has to be weekly, that kind of thing. But no, their ethos is binge. It's all binge. Get it all out there, binge it.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't to me, but whatever.
There we go. But yeah, it was really cool to get there. And I think considering how quickly we had to turn it round without blowing our own horns, it was a good script. And the video itself is great. I think this is my favourite string of outtakes that I've ever put together as well.
Yeah.
It was just it sounds stupid laughing at your own jokes, but when you come back to it, because it can be a week later before we see the video edit, when you come back to it and you kind of forget you've done that, it's like, that was good. Well done,
yeah, no, I know that feeling for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
so
you're
much
just glad
fun
it
writing on
works. You're glad it works the way you visualized it. Because sometimes
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work. But yeah, these ones were really good. So yeah, I like the show. I think it's got some pacing issues, especially in the back end. But overall, I think the stuff it's trying to tackle and the way it tackles it is just really, really good stuff. Really good.
You just described how people talk about me on the dance floor. Got some pace issues, especially on the back end.
Slow paced in the back end. Nice.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about the video or anything before I move on to Jonathan?
The whole Sin 1 conversion. We had a really good back and forth about how to do that, and got a lot of attention in the comments. I think the piggy bank was was definitely an Aaron idea. And it was just we were tempted to either do the Sin 1 conversion at the very end of the video, do it at the start and not acknowledge it, or pick a point in the middle of the video, which is what we went with. And I think that was the right way to do it, because we really got to acknowledge that basically everybody had a calculator out, or the internet, trying to work out, is he screwed, or is this like $100? Does it really matter? Like,
because we know
context here.
We know it's not. It doesn't work in our Western mindset of like $1. You know, like you know, there's like 450 billion won, or when we're going, okay, wait, are they that in debt? No, they can't be that in debt. So there's got to be something, So. But
giving 10,000 won for a tip, you're like, was that really generous or really stingy? We don't know.
Right? Yeah, that stuff matters.
But it was great to acknowledge that, and just I think that's the biggest amount of sins we've given out for a TV sins video. I think.
Well, it's certainly the biggest amount of sin won that we've given out. We didn't actually give out sins at the end of this one, so that's something to remember. I have several things in keeping tabs about this video to talk about with that kind of stuff, because people definitely had questions, for sure.
They did, lots of questions. I think I've got to keep in tabs as well.
Yeah.
But I love it. No, really, really quickly, sorry. The translation underneath, we acknowledge the English dub. I will say the translation isn't what's being said on screen.
I was going to mention that in keeping tabs as well.
Okay, we'll do that in tabs.
Okay, we'll hold it for there.
We'll hold on to that
because we will need to have we'll need to make a decision. Like, do we want to reveal it here, or do we it's kind of one of those things. So we'll talk about that.
Well, I've already made the decision. I don't want to.
All right, so Jonathan, what about you? Some of your thoughts is during this whole Squid Game process.
This was the first episode I watched. This is still the only episode I've watched, just because I haven't had time to watch any of the other ones. I have every intention of doing it because this is definitely up my alley. I don't know. It's very intriguing seeing, I'm curious where it goes. I was glad both of you had seen it all, though, because I think that helped especially with because I had questions about, if the piggy bank was actually prominent, and, you guys were like, it most definitely is and stuff, because I had questions about that kind of stuff. So I was glad you guys, and I was also glad you guys did the conversion and stuff, because I get really easily agitated with numbers and math. So I definitely didn't want to have to try to figure all that out. So that was nice. So I was like, you guys are taking care of this? Cool. Yeah, let's do that. But it was really fun to work on. I really liked it. I haven't seen anything other than the English dub, which if I watch it on my own after this, I'll definitely do subtitles, because that's how I normally watch stuff, or in the original language. I enjoyed getting to send Netflix for not letting credits roll. That's just one of those things. I think that's a pretty common thing people complain about, and so that was a lot of fun. I was glad that my entire rant got left in there, and Aaron read it beautifully. The other one I liked, I was able to keep in, because I didn't think it would get in, but there's that one part where somebody says something about your mom, and then the sin is just your mom.
So
I kind of wrote that. I kind of wrote that as just an offside thing, and then I was like, "Oh no, I think I kind of like this." And then thankfully, Chris and Ian were like, "Yeah, no, that can stay."
Yeah,
it's great when some of those stay in. The shot to nothing sins.
I love the running sin about Stitch. Like, Stitch is right fucking there.
Like, when you get
it's insane to me that he took that box. Like, that's still like I was like, because he was trying to get other things, and like,
it's a clear. Well, I guess that would be spoilery. I guess I won't say that since you haven't seen the rest, but there's.
Oh, I know what you mean.
There's a reference there that character would know nothing about, so it's still ridiculous.
No, doesn't mean anything.
But it's symbolic in some way. Though.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And then I just Ian noticed that I didn't even think about it when they were doing the facial recognition on that guy, and he was wearing a mask.
We did kind of go back and forth on that a little bit, because my question was, are they scanning for an RFID chip, right? Because other times they scan the players on the back of the neck to know who they are, but the reason we kept it is because it is clearly moving a scan line through. It is absolutely visually representing scanning the face. It made sense.
It may well be checking for an RFID, but it absolutely looks like it's checking the face.
Right. Yeah.
It's nuts, but it was a lot of fun, and I think it turned out well. So
I watched the entirety of Squid Game like the day after it was released, just because so many people were talking about it so quickly, and it just became an immediate thing. I was like, oh, I have to watch this. Plus, it wasn't just like, because I don't necessarily kind of buy into like everybody loves this thing. Oh, I'm gonna love it too. But after I watched the first episode, I was like, oh, this is ultra compelling. Like there's something like there's a gravity to this concept that is really fascinating, and I wanted to watch the rest of it, and so I did. Pretty quickly, and I had a good time with it. I think Ian's absolutely right. I think you start getting towards the back half of the season, and more issues pop up just on a technical level, and some things. There's some widely discussed English speaking acting in the second half that is
interesting,
absolutely
Bad.
terrible. I mean, just like so bad that it is a common topic of discussion. About the show.
Oh, you're talking about the second half of the series.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I remember you mentioned this when you talked about it on Beyond the Sins. I know I'm definitely watching this as soon as I can, probably next month, but just after October and stuff. But yeah.
But this first episode is just, I mean, it's a crack cocaine pilot, man. I mean, it is just like, oh, give me the rest of it. I need it. And I really enjoyed it. I thought the video was great. You guys mentioned pretty much all the stuff I wanted to talk about. The Stitch stuff especially slayed me. Such a great callback. Such a great running gag. Really enjoyed that. So yeah, really, really good stuff here. The one piece of we mentioned the piggy bank, we mentioned the wand conversion. The one piece of that we didn't mention is actually my favorite piece, and I think it's probably because it's the subtlest. But on the sin count at the end, instead of doing our usual BAMs, we do the actual player count sound that they use in the show, and it works so perfectly for
Yeah,
what
no,
we
it
do.
sounds-
spooky.
Yeah. So really, really loved that. I wanted to give a shout out to that as well.
Yeah, that was really eerie the first time I heard that. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, that was really loud. Did you guys hear that? I cracked my toe or something. And it was like bam.
Nope.
Could've got away with
but,
it.
but yeah,
It
you don't have to.
echoed all around the room.
You don't have to cover with a cracked toe, quote unquote. We know what.
What else
noise,
would it be?
We know what noises are going on over there.
Well, we now know what the buzz in the outtakes is going to be now, because that will definitely come up on your audio.
You're talking
Jonathan.
about like gas. I got you. No, I would admit to that.
Yeah. Let's move into this week's TV Sins. We started Star Wars Visions with an Insta-Sin of the pilot. I guess you could call it a pilot. This is an anthology show that basically Star Wars has said, hey, here are some great anime creators. Do whatever you want with Star Wars. We're not going to consider it canon. So feel free to really explore the world. There isn't a revealed list of rules for these episodes, but I'm almost sure they were like, here are characters that are off limits. Like, I'm sure they said that. I'm sure they said,
Oh, yeah.
no stories with these characters in them. Having said that, there are some characters from canon that show up in some of these episodes. Not this one, I don't believe.
No. Somebody from Disney is just like, oh, shoot, we forgot that one.
So I would be very interested in seeing that someday, like kind of the rules they gave to these anime studios. Because I do wonder with some of the things that you see consistently through these episodes, if there was like a suggestion list, like, hey, let's talk about kyber crystals. Because like every single episode in Star Wars
They really got
Visions
hooked up on that, didn't they?
it has to do with kyber crystals. And so anyways, I'd be really curious to see it. But this one was called The Duel. Jonathan and I wrote on this one. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, why don't you kick us off? What are some of your thoughts watching this? Have you watched any of the others? Like, how are you feeling about Star Wars Visions?
I've seen like 3 of them,
Okay.
I think, because they're not very long. So, but I'm not like they're fine. Maybe if I was more into Star Wars, this would be interesting. But I was even thinking like if they did like Star Trek Visions. I don't know this. I don't know, this non-canon stuff just doesn't always. I don't know. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it
Sure.
per se. It's not like really catching my interest for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's also 14 minutes. So. It's pretty easy to watch. I thought this one visually was a lot of fun. I liked the style of it. I thought it was, and we have a sin about that too, about whether we should take a sin off for taking back the samurai, the Western influence, or should we just go ahead and send George Lucas for ripping it off or whatever. And I just thought that was funny because I did think when I was watching this, I think I had a similar. I think that was yours, but I think I
We
wrote
both
something
had
kind of similar.
Kurosawa, literally had Kurosawa
Yeah,
sins.
because that was one of the first things I thought of. It felt almost kind of ballsy. In a weird way, because it's like, wow, you're just leaning right into this. And it's not like, it's not like Lucas has ever like stepped away from that. I mean, he said, this is Hidden Fortress. And it's crazy because I, like a lot of people my age, I did not watch Hidden Fortress till years after I had seen Star Wars, and I was like, oh my god, like Star Wars is Hidden Fortress. it's straight up Hidden Fortress, which is fine. But no, so I like that. I like samurai stuff. I like westerns, and the lone man coming into town, so that all appeals to me. But so it was fun, and it was kind of hard to send, although it was, like I said, it was so short, it wasn't as much of a problem, rewatching it over and over. I love you had written something about how his hair was blowing but the trees weren't. And then later, when you see his hair again and it's blowing, the sin is, I take back the hair comment. It's apparent that he's just styled it in the form of windblown. I just thought that was really funny.
That was great.
Catching that was the original Star Wars poster was interesting, because I don't know what that's about.
Stunning.
I had paused it for some reason for some other sin, which will happen sometimes. This is a good behind the scenes kind of thing, because we will go through these things, and one of the things we're taught very quickly, and I think is part of the beauty of what we do, is the pause button. And, whenever there's a lot going on in the background, pause it, look around the background, see what's going on. And I noticed the Vader helmet, and I was like, that looks like a Vader helmet. And then I was like, is that Luke holding up the lightsaber from that first Star Wars poster, which I had back in my brain somewhere? And so I did a Google search, and it is exactly that poster with just a couple modifications. So yeah, that was kind of one of those, eureka moments, Archimedes sin, as I like to call those. But
there you go.
The sin itself for that was fantastic, because it's like, cool, nice Easter egg. But let's just hang on a second. This is in universe. Do you know what that actually means?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like they're showing the movie there or something. Like, really? What's going on? Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, it was a very odd way to do an Easter egg. And then the only other thing I had written down was I just like the term for the love of Kundun. I thought that was really just out of all the movies of child leaders to mention.
Right.
Scorsese's 10-hour epic about the Buddha or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Dune's Patrick Stewart.
No, I might have said that wrong. What was I don't know. I might have said that. There's also a movie called Little Buddha, so I might be getting those confused.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Kundun.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun sending this. I love sending this kind of stuff because it seems ripe to me for over focus. Just really kind of zooming in on some stuff. SpongeBob is, what a weird comparison, but SpongeBob feels the same way to me too. You've got a shorter episode and you just feel like you can tear every molecule apart,
every frame.
And so I enjoy doing these. We had to send that stupid Saberella. It's so dumb on so many levels. It's clearly just a visual thing. It's like, oh, that would look cool. It's not a practical thing. That would be completely done practically, and I'm not even sure how it works. For a single beam of light can be refracted, but if it's a killer beam of light that slices through, does it multiply? It's just even if you're refracting light, you're dealing with the same light refracted and dissipating, right? So is it dissipating its power
diffused
as well? Yeah. Yeah, that was ridiculous to me. The fact that they're like, don't stop firing. And then she immediately does her Mary Poppins move where she's completely exposed for 5 seconds and everybody just stops firing. If you're going to do that, why are you also bringing attention to it with somebody's line? That was
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
That was hilarious. Yeah, that outtake had to be there.
That was great.
Somebody in the comments said that they felt like in this one that the outtakes just wrote themselves, that we opened up our editing program and the outtakes were automatically there because there were so many great obvious ones. I thought that was funny. So yeah, I felt that umbrella thing was dumb, and then they give the umbrella to the guy at the end, and it's like, thank you for the discarded junk lightsaber umbrella that I don't even have a lightsaber for. Like, appreciate
Why
it.
was that a gift? What are they going to do with it?
know.
It doesn't even work
Yeah,
as
the
an umbrella
lightsaber would have been
anymore.
a better gift, which
and
is
just
why we send
and
it.
just so much lame exposition shouting from people in this as well, where they're just shouting things out because the audience needs to know it, and it makes no sense to shout it out. Anyhow, yeah, this was really fun for me. I had a really good time with it. As far as liking the show, I'm kind of iffy on it. Some of the episodes, there are 2 or 3. I've watched them all. I've watched all 9. There are 2 or 3 that I really like, and then the rest I'm just kind of meh with. A couple of I didn't enjoy this, So it's fairly evenly split for me. Then 3 good, 3 meh, 3 bad is probably about where I land. So yeah, what about you, Ian? Kind of what's your experience with Star Wars Visions?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I haven't seen all of them yet, but the few that I have seen are visually amazing, and they do something different, and I love that they've swung for something, and especially this episode, the Duel, it's so striking to watch. But they've put all of their eggs into that and very little into the plot and writing, and some of the writing in this is just bad.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like, there's an episode in particular which is just all callbacks and it's all references. And yeah, it's disappointing. Yeah, great. You've put a lot of effort into presenting it visually, but you could have tried a bit harder with the script, it feels like, and some of the plot stuff. So it's a bit of a letdown. But yeah, love the video. You pretty much grabbed everything that I had, but I could tell that somebody had done quite a bit of research, like the Yomi Tori Sin. I had to stop and Google that, and I was like, I think I know what he's done with this, but I'm going to Google it just in case. But
that was Jonathan.
I love it when you can.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome. Loved it.
Which one?
The reading in Japanese.
Reading, but in Japanese.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I looked that up. Yeah,
that's great. I love it when you can see a good bit of research has gone into a video.
Yeah, and then looking up what the hairstyle was called, because the reason I look, I think it's chomage or chomage or something like that, but it's the reason I looked it up is because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't calling it a ponytail or something like that, because a ponytail comes down, but this very clearly is styled up from the back and is a real hairstyle that was very popular. And in fact, it often included shaving the center top of the head and then using the hair from the back over, like, kind of a
deliberate comb over.
Yeah, or a comb forward kind of thing. Anyhow, looking that up was interesting as well.
This has been behind the hair.
Behind the hair.
The bit that stood out so much is his lightsaber is red. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, that drove me nuts. We both wrote a sin on that too. I think I don't remember which one we used.
Yeah, I think we used yours. Yeah.
I don't remember.
I see it's red. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a thing though. They do a lot. Like they do that in movies too, where like Star Trek Into Darkness, where he says he's Khan and he's like so like adamant about it. And you're like, that's for the audience because they have no clue who Khan is. So they're probably just like, okay, so that's your name? Okay. I don't know why. I don't know why you're shouting at me right now.
Is that with a C or a K at the beginning?
They do that in Spectre too when he says he's Blofeld. I remember that's another one where I'm just like, who is that? That's not the characters in the movie. Like they don't care.
Yeah, you almost at those points you're almost like it's not a fourth wall break, but it's so close.
Just make eye contact.
You might as well just make eye contact with the camera at that point. All right, let's move on to What If. We have done the next episode of What If. The world lost its mighty heroes, Ian and Jonathan.
And Hawkeye.
What's that? And Hawkeye, yes, the Hawkeye shade. Yeah, I actually had that written down.
That was amazing.
I love it.
You gotta love the Hawkeye shade.
And that's one of those that was even better when you heard the narrator say it. Like it was funny in the script, like I got it, but then when I heard Aaron say it, just like and Hawkeye,
it was just an afterthought. It's not even delivering the joke. It's just
yeah. Like it's just the way it is. That's the key to that joke. Is just this is it. Fact. He's not one of the Mightiest Avengers. He's Hawkeye. So yes, what did you guys think of this episode? Jonathan, why don't you kick us off? What are your thoughts as we continue to go through What If?
I mean, I guess this was one of the episodes I've seen, which I think is like half. Have there been like 9 or 8? How many have there
9?
been?
The first season is 9. It was intended to be 10, but they only were able to do 9.
I feel like I've seen 4 or 5, so maybe I've seen like half of them. But this was this was episode 3.
I believe
that
so.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this was definitely more interesting, I thought, than the first 2, because at least it was kind of one of those things like, what if the Avengers had died? Like, what would happen? But then I don't know if it just needed to be longer or like a 2-parter, or because it felt just kind of like they had to rush everything because they had to set up who all these people were and then kill them off and then go from there. And I mean, the who did it is fun. I mean, I think that's kind of interesting and stuff too. I like all that, and especially because like I don't know. I mean, well, we were talking about the video, so I guess we can spoil it. But like Hank Pym is in the comics. If you read the comics, like there was this whole era where Hank Pym was like pretty violent. Like there was like Marvel dealt with things like he was very abusive to his wife, and he had alcohol issues. There was all kinds of stuff. So I thought it was interesting that they kind of basically like the whole thing was kind of making him go crazy, kind of like the Invisible Man thing, where like eventually you just kind of start like losing your mind over everything. So I thought that was interesting that they kind of, whether they intentionally did it or not, that's immediately what I thought of. But I just I don't know, this series, I've heard it gets kind of more interesting towards the end, and like I'm curious to see how this all ties together, because I've heard that like there's some twists and stuff, so I guess I'll find that out eventually. But as of like the few episodes I've seen, it's okay. I don't have much of an opinion on it either way. As far as the Sins, I enjoyed getting to say, the what if there was no Iron Man 2, because I really cannot stand that movie.
And yet Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Iron Man 3 is the best Iron Man. Ian, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Miles.
I wrote the Ian Hawkeye. I also loved Ian's thing about like doing the thing about how many people we actually kneel to, where
Yeah.
Fury's like, we don't kneel to people in this country, and then you're like, well, except for Queens and the church, and
Yeah.
we kind of kneel all the time. I just thought that was really funny. So no, it was fun to work on for sure.
Ian.
Yeah, I mean, the Neil thing is because they just... The reason they included that is because of needing to Loki and Avengers. So it was kind of like, if you're going to do this, I'm going to pull you apart for doing it, because it's just fan service a bit too far. Yeah, this is a notch above Visions for me, but not much. It's almost like it's made by the same people or same company. Just, you can do so much, but you can't do too much. It feels like they've got their hands tied. The animation... It's kind...
Do you like
I'm coming
it or not?
around on it.
You're coming around on it?
Didn't at all. I'm coming round to it.
Yeah.
There's some visuals on screen that are movie worthy.
Yeah,
where if
I
you
totally
could
agree with
hang
that.
it on a wall and poster it.
Frame by frame, it's beautiful.
Exactly.
But put
motion,
together, I'm not sure I like it still. Yeah.
You're still talking about What If, right?
Yes.
What If, yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
It's almost like there's a few frames missing every now and again, or throughout every episode.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah, something like it's baffling. I loved pondering the philosophy of donuts. Just when you get into something and you're like, you know what, this is going to be a 5 or 6 line scene, and I'm just going to run with it. And the longer you go on about the donut, and the fact that Tony Stark might be having a philosophical thought about anything, let alone the donut that he's sitting in, was a lot of fun. I think the most egregious sin that just wound me up so much was when Fury rings Black Widow. It's like, are you in a secure location? Don't worry answering that question, because I'm going to tell you regardless of what your answer is.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Why did you ask the question?
Yeah.
Stop it. It's like, what do you even gain from that moment? Like, as a writer, like, did you just want to say the phrase secure location? Was that what it was? Because it wasn't going anywhere.
I think it probably comes from that subconscious thing of, this is just something that people say in these situations because, they need to show that they care about security, or whatever.
But they don't.
Yeah,
because he says it anyway.
Right. Well, in the answer makes no difference. It's already so. No, I'm not. Oh, oops. I called.
Too late.
Bye.
I guess they know. Yeah, I love the Lake Bell thing. I used to sound like Scarlett Johansson, but now I sound like Lake Bell. That was great.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging that it's a different person, which baffles me. Like, Disney didn't have enough weight to get their people back to do the voices.
And Disney
I would assume
have
they're
had a little
busy.
bit of
ScarJo, I understand. Yeah.
I'm
but that
going to
wouldn't have
guess there
happened.
was...
That
I'm
wouldn't
going to
have
guess
happened yet.
scheduling conflicts, though, for the ones that they couldn't get. Because, like, Dave Bautista, like, I don't know why he wouldn't
I'm
have
too
done
busy
it.
for
And,
Disney. Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
here's the
Well, like
thing.
they were already filming something though, and then
Yeah.
Disney's like,
Possibly.
we're doing it now. Yeah, I don't know.
I understand two of them, and I imagine the others are probably weird scheduling things. I understand ScarJo, and I understand Tony Stark. Those are the two I get. Like, I think Robert Downey Jr. is ready to move on. Like, he wants that in his rearview mirror. So I get those two. The others, I can kind of get Chris Evans as well, because it's not Chris Evans, I don't think, doing Captain America either.
I don't remember. It is Michael Douglas was here though, right? Michael Douglas did the voice for Hank Pym, right? That's what I thought. Yeah.
And Kurt Russell comes in for like one line at some point.
Yeah.
For like,
Yeah.
Do that.
So yeah, but
Can you just send me a WhatsApp audio of this line, please?
I will say-
it must have been it.
I will
No,
say
they probably had him in for something else, and they're like, "Hey, real quick, can you just read this line?"
Yeah.
I will say I
Here's
back up
10,000.
what some in the chat are saying. I think Lake Bell does the best of any of the replacements. It just me not being distracted by it. I'm very distracted by the Tony Stark. I'm somewhat distracted by the Chris Evans.
Yeah, that wasn't that definitely that was definitely not meant as an insult on Lake Bell. Like I like Lake Bell, but it was just funny. I don't know why, just because you could still she sounded different, enough.
Yeah,
I just thought it was funny.
There's a couple of sins that didn't make it that I'm going to save for whatever we do later on.
Keeping tabs.
Keeping tabs, that's the one.
Sure.
Yeah.
I thought you
works.
meant for like another week when you think we're talking
just for
about
next week. Yeah,
I'm just
I
gonna
can't
throw
remember
them
this
in a
week.
couple months from now.
You remember What If? Nope. And
The
just
next time Ian's on, he's like, "Man, I watched that Cologne commercial. Is that not what we're doing?"
yes, I'll do that. I'll always be a week behind on commercial sins.
Yeah,
That'll be great. There's two keeping tabs that I've got for this. Not keep comments. Thing as well, because I got destroyed for a certain Thor sin.
Looking
that
forward to
I'm
it.
Oh, I saw that.
Looking forward to it.
We are going to talk about that. And just the more people that got angry about the Hawkeye being excluded, the more it fed me.
Oh no, it's one of those perfect trolley sins where
Once
just,
again, we're just having fun.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure,
great.
for sure.
I'm excited about the Hawkeye show. I'm sure it's going to be great.
So I have watched all 9 of these, and like mentioned, it was originally supposed to be 10. And they also, I believe,
Do you know why there wasn't a 10th one? Was it?
I do.
Oh, okay.
But since we're kind of continuing to go through those, maybe we can talk about that. That later. It doesn't necessarily apply to this episode, and also kind of gets spoilery-ish if I were to talk about that. And I know that. Ian, did you say you'd seen more than the ones we've done?
No,
Okay.
I've got 5 episodes left.
So both of you
haven't been urgent.
aren't aware of some things that are coming down the road.
Okay.
Because I am aware of those things, I think I like this show more than you guys do. There was part of me originally where it's like, guys, these are all in different universes, but they're canon. And I was like, but why? Who cares? And that kind of gets answered a little bit. So, So that's coming down the road for you guys. I will also say, with hearing that, I also heard they were originally supposed to be an hour long. And I think we're all feeling that the more of these that we do. I think we are feeling how compressed these stories that they're trying to tell get. And it's like entire chunks are missing. Like, it's like, there's... And that's okay when you're just trying to understand, point A to point B. But when you're actually trying to build character and new versions of characters we love, and the shorthand stuff becomes a little distracting. And I feel it very much in these episodes. It's one of my least favorite things is how condensed these stories feel, which I guess is kind of a compliment in some ways. Because, you're saying, I want more, right? Yeah. You're saying, I want to see this expanded a little bit.
If they'd kept it in universe and kept it, well, I know it's in universe, but if they didn't make a fundamental change at the beginning of every episode, then you could probably get away with 20 minutes because you have enough context. But when you make a fundamental change really quickly, you've got so much work to do in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think as No Time to Die proved, everything should be 2 hours and 52 minutes. I think that's what
that's what that proved. Well,
is that the lesson? Did I take the right lesson
I think
away
so.
from No Time to Die?
I think that was I think that was exactly the lesson they were hoping to take from that movie. No, you know what else deals with this in the same universe, in the same canon, is the Loki show. I think the Loki show deals with the same kind of thing because you're dealing with a Loki that is technically, he's plucked out of the universe we know at a point where we barely know him. And then in that show, they have to get him back, to the Loki that we need or that they want or whatever in a short amount of time. And so, I don't think it deals with it quite as much as What If does, but it's that same kind of thing. Which, maybe that's just one of those in the con columns for doing multiverse, that's
who's good at plucking? Hawkeye.
Sure.
Well,
if you say. Yeah.
Good at plucking arrows.
You guys, is that what it's called? When you shoot an arrow?
Is that not what it's called? What is it called?
I don't
thought like if you're plucking back. Am I saying that wrong?
Yeah.
Plucking is like plucking is like a flower. So I just said that completely wrong.
I guess you could pluck it out of the quiver. Maybe you pluck it out of the quiver.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. You're right. It is a knock.
I thought you squiffed it out of the quiver.
Yes.
And then...
Ian, with the first callback to something nobody who's listening to this episode has heard.
Yes.
But might be in the outtakes, possibly. We shall see.
People are like waiting to drink for an hour and 20 minutes, and finally, Ian Saver gave him some.
Dying of thirst.
All right. You guys, by the way, loved this Sins video, but you guys, pretty much mentioned all the ones I had written down to talk about. The Hawkeye shade was probably my favorite. It was just so much fun. All right, let's move into music video sins. Coldplay with BTS. The song is My Universe. Barrett writing this. What you guys think about this? Ian, kick us off. What are some of your thoughts on the music video this week?
Man, I do not understand music videos. Full stop.
You
I don't
fit
understand.
in perfectly around here, good sir.
I don't understand. I'm going to sound so old. I don't understand young people. I don't understand young culture. I don't understand BTS, both the podcast and the band.
Do you think Coldplay fans are young?
Jonathan makes a valid point.
Yeah, no, that's fair because, man, Coldplay have been around for a while, and I love I always hated the amount of shade that Coldplay got for being miserable and self-absorbed and whatnot. Like when I was at school, there was a running joke that if you like Coldplay, then we don't like you because it's a bit miserable. But I love their older stuff. That sounds like such a.
I liked them when they were called Travis. That's what I liked them.
Oh, deep cut.
Yeah, I don't even. That's so deep. I don't even get it. I don't even know what that means.
I have seen Travis live. It's a good band. But I did not like this song. I don't like the music video. It confuses me. It scares me. I wish it would go away. But the Sins video was excellent. Again, I think one of my favourite things, like watching the evolution of all of the channels, is having different narrators for each channel. Because the way that Barrett delivers music videos is so different to obviously TV sins and commercial sins, and he's the perfect person for it because he just passionately pulls out all of these references that I wouldn't have a hope of getting to. But the one I'll pull out is that the set from Annihilation fucked the set from Thor Ragnarok. Annihilation is one of those films where that could happen. Like just everything comes alive and just starts fucking something else. But it's great description. And it just once I had it described in that way, I was like, yep, that's exactly what this is.
That's the one.
If you need to hear about two like slices of like media fucking each other, Barrett's the go-to.
That's right. Yeah, he's your Babe Ruth. He's your Babe Ruth. He's your Michael Jordan. We know who you need. I feel very similar to you. I was lost during a lot of this video. The music itself, I have a good enough relationship with music where I'm eclectic enough that I can put most stuff on and just enjoy it. And I think this song is perfectly fine. It's fine. I can imagine having it on in my room and, while I'm working on something and bopping to it, enjoying it. It's pop music. It's good. But then I watch a music video and I'm just like, okay, so we're just doing video experiments at this point. All we're doing is we're trying to find cool, fun. It's the flying toasters of the original Windows era, right? Like it's like, ooh, what's your screensaver? Ooh, that's cool. You have 3D toasters with wings. That's how I feel about music videos sometimes. Is like, oh, we're just trying to do cool stuff that hasn't been seen.
Like the video pointed out, it's the director advertising themselves. Please let me make a proper film.
Exactly.
Please?
Yes. Yeah. It's a tryout. Yeah. There's an audition element to it that becomes interesting. The only one I wanted to mention was the telling the bass player, look up, there's a whole world out there. Like just sinning the fact that the bass player is looking at the frets. And I'm just like, I mean, you're not wrong, but you're just the passion of just like, how dare you? How dare you look at your hand while you're playing bass? That kind of stuff always cracks me up.
There was a really shady comment. It was just like, well, bass players are the only people that have nothing to do. So if anyone's going to look at the frets, it's them.
Yeah. Yep. Jonathan, what about you?
I echo. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting to have like two bands that are this big, because I think Coldplay is still a pretty huge band. I mean, I think they're kind of like the Foo Fighters. They're kind of in that. They're just kind of I don't know. They have tenure, I guess is what you would call it. I mean, I think they still sell out, concert venues and stuff like that. So they're doing well. So it's interesting to have like those two different, generational type bands, coming together. The song's okay. I mean, it could be better, but the video just is nonsense. I have no idea what's going on in the video, what it's trying to say, what it's not that it has to try to say anything, but I'm just watching it. It's just gobbledygook. It does nothing for the song. Ian mentioned the Annihilation one, which I had. So the only other one I had was I Gotta Be Wooed Before You Stick That Frame in Sign B, my dude. I just love the wording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On that, another sexually driven sin from the very horny music video sins.
Surprise! This week, for some reason, music.
Yeah, it's usually so just subtle. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. All right, let's move into the movies. For CinemaSins, one of the most coherent and well-loved movies of all time, Dune 1984. We're going with. This is almost one of those that's almost, it's so easy to sin that it's almost hard to sin, I would imagine. I wasn't on this one. This one
it's hard to watch.
Yeah. This one was Jonathan, this was you and Chris on this one. And so I was not jealous. I was not envious of that writing opportunity for Dune 1984, because man, it is a big bowl of nonsense. In a lot of ways. So
big bowl of spice melange.
Yes, spice melange. Kick us off, Jonathan. What were some of your thoughts on the movie, on sitting it, all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, so I had seen this at least once before. I think I saw it sometime. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I saw it like sometime in the mid 80s, like when it was on cable, or we rented it or something. I don't remember. I guess I did. It didn't have much of it. I didn't remember it. But I remembered scenes when I was watching it this time. It's terrible. It's a really bad movie. It's like, which is interesting because I love Lynch. I'm a huge David Lynch fan. I'm kind of glad it's terrible, because there's something about this that, like, well, not that I wish like him to have like a bad movie, but Chris and I were talking about, like, if this was a success, I don't know that we get Blue Velvet. I don't know that we get Twin Peaks, Wild at Heart, and even like Straight Story. And like, that's Lynch, right? That's what the movies that I love and stuff. I'm not as big of I didn't like this. I'm not even a huge fan of The Elephant Man, which was like the one before, which probably got him Dune, because that one was like an Oscar contender and all that kind of stuff. So no, it's bad. Like, it feels like something where there was definitely like studio interference, and there definitely was. I mean, there's a director's cut out there, which I've never seen, but like I've heard like the Virginia Madsen narration's not even in it, which I don't know how anybody understood anything, if that's the case. But there's all kinds of changes and stuff that they had Lynch make. He might have even left the film at some point. I don't remember now. But anyways, it's a mess. It's like any Hollywood big studio movie that ends up having these issues. It feels just like one of those, like Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, or
right.
I was trying to think of more recent stuff. I don't know, Batman and Robin, whatever. I mean, it's just a nightmare to try to sift through. Although I'm kind of glad I watched it though, because, and I'll talk more about that probably in Beyond the Sins, but I have some interesting parallels. But as far as the Sins go, I loved Chris's stuff about having the editors. He went like us having the editors blur out stuff because we weren't sure what it was. Like the narrator's not sure what it is. I just thought that was
that was really smart. Yep.
Well, and that because like that scene is like, is so insanely ridiculous. Like the scene where they're like, it's like, I don't even know what you would call that. It looks like Atari 2600 graphics that are like blocking them. Yeah. And it's like that was a choice that was made. And and then they decided to go with it. It's so bizarre. So we knew we had to do something with that, but Chris came up with like the perfect thing. I liked the narrator imitate.
Can I tell
sorry,
you what?
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want to tell you what I love about that. One of the things I love about that sin is that it in some ways educates our audience too as to what we're doing, because sometimes we've got a video coming out soon where we blur some stuff that just doesn't need to be blurred. It just doesn't need to be blurred. Like if it were us, we'd be like, we're not trying to protect your poor little eyes from this. You know what I mean? And so it's nice, I think, for the audience to know that the reason we do that is because YouTube has an algorithm that mistakes things for certain things. And the sin deals with that in a way that I really liked, because it allows people to understand kind of what we're doing in some of those other instances where it's like, why did you feel like you had to blur that? It's like, it's not us, I promise. We're trying to appease the YouTube gods.
The video you're talking about, if we'd have thought about that at the script phase, we'd have absolutely written that in as well.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Well, because didn't the sin says something, I don't remember off the top of my head, I didn't write it down, but the sin says something like this might, so in case it affects the YouTube people fucking algorithm or something
yes,
like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
I also, Kyle MacLachlan, I like Kyle MacLachlan, I really do. I love Twin Peaks, but Kyle MacLachlan just walking into that room, and so the sin was, I'm here, and this is a totally normal way to enter a room.
I love that.
I should warn you, if we're playing stiff as a board later, I'm going to dominate. It was just, it's such a weird thing. And then just the whole thing with the special effects, this was all Chris, the whole thing with the special effects crew talking to Lynch, like, we don't have all this mapped out yet, but we're working on it. No, let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Print it.
Yeah.
And then I just loved, is he holding the goddamn pug? He's holding the goddamn pug. That fucking pug, man. That pug was, we had a few sins about that pug that didn't make it. But
yeah.
We still got
just
a
like
couple
that pug, 100% did not make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ian, what's your experience with Dune 1984?
Wow. So I watched this for the first time 2 nights ago because I'm going to see the new Dune tomorrow, and I decided I wanted some context for the film because I've never watched it. I haven't read the book. There is zero, it should be right up my alley, but I have just consumed zero Dune content. And this was a really bad nipple-tearingly way of starting it. It's so uncomfortable. Everything about this film is uncomfortable to watch. It's confusing. The internal narration is baffling to me. I think the Sins video gives it a little bit of credit for working sometimes. I don't think it works at all, ever. This film is exactly why we sin narration at every single opportunity, because it can sometimes work. But in this film, it's lazy, it's boring, it's too much. You go from the really direct narration at the beginning of the film straight into a ton of computer graphics on screen, which give us more exposition, and then into some characters talking, which give us all of that exposition again. It's so redundant. It feels like a lot of talented people came together and just accidentally made something that really sucks. This film is hard. It's hard to watch. The certificate is just chef's kiss, amazing for the most random evil task, and just I didn't realize that it was given 10,000 sins, so I got to the very end and it went bam, 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 and I was like, holy shit, when did we get to 10,000? When did that happen?
Yeah.
So I had to rewind it back to that. That's a
I
good
was kind of glad Danae didn't watch this video, because she would have been like, why were they allowed to have 10,000 sins? And,
oh, no.
And the answer would have been because it's Dune 1984. You can get away with it.
Happened to her like on her
digits.
third video, and she still brings it up.
Anything that messes with the format of the video, I'm a sucker for, and I probably try and do it too much. So, but I wonder what YouTube would be like if it could read my thoughts, and then all of like the subtitles changed, and then the graphic changes on screen, and they're just like, nope, we need to roll this back because it's getting a bit too real. Yeah. Great. I was surprised at the length of the video. I thought it was going to be longer, but I think my script for this would have been 200-300 sins. I wouldn't have been able to let it go.
Yeah, no, there was a lot. We did cut some stuff. I mean, as far as video length, I mean, I think there is some there's not a whole lot of behind the scenes as much anymore on that, but I do know like the older the film, the less likely it is people have, I don't know,
which makes sense.
You just try to make, but it was hard. I mean, it was hard to keep it where we did, but you also don't want to be repetitive either, because there was a lot of stuff in here that was easily to repeat, so you get rid of a lot of those. And,
Yeah, I don't have much to add at all. I have not watched this movie. I am not interested in watching this movie. I've never I've never had anybody in my life, and Jonathan, you can be the first if you feel this way, but I've never had anybody in my life be like, no, this is good for your film history. This is good for your, and like,
no. There's no reason to watch it.
No,
I was just saying you
usually.
Watched it. I was just saying you normally will go back and watch like prequels and see. You will watch stuff before you watch the new version or whatever.
Right, but so. I also am getting vibes that it's just such a jumble that's not even like there is no context to be had. There is no
there isn't.
Yeah. I don't get the feeling that, and I haven't seen it yet either. I'm planning on watching it later today. I don't get the feeling that Denis Villeneuve's Dune is going to make winky references at Dune 1984. Like, I don't get the sense that he was interested in, like, doing something that contextually would be...
Look, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a pug.
There is a pug. His name is Chalamet, Pug Chalamet. So yeah, I don't have a desire to watch it, and... am I opposed to it? No. If somebody was like, no, you should just have it and marked off your list, then I might do it. But nobody.
And people
said that.
love this movie. Like, do not
I haven't
misunderstand.
Met them,
people love this movie. Yeah. I've met many. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Yeah, I don't get it. But
the only sin that hasn't been mentioned that I wanted to mention was sand moving. Excitement.
Oh my god!
And it's great written, and then the narration delivery choice, and I don't know if it was in the notes or just a choice from Jeremy to deliver them so similarly to emphasize how the sameness was really good too. I really love.
I think
all those parts of that.
I don't remember if I. It's so hard to even remember what I wrote. We did this one a while back. I think we did this one like 2 months ago or something, and I want to say that was just the way Jeremy read it, but I could be wrong.
All right, let's move into Fantastic Mr. Fox. This was a Danae and Ian script. This is Hughes Whittington. So, Ian, kick us off. Some of your thoughts on Fantastic Mr. Fox, the process of writing this, some of the video.
I love this film.
It's so good. So much. It's so good.
I'm not a twee person. This isn't usually the sort of film that would be up my alley, but
I don't even know what that means. I hear it all the time with Wes Anderson that his movies are twee. And I kind of get a contextual sense of what it means, but I need to look up the definition of twee because it sounds derogatory in some ways.
No, it's not at all. I don't take it as derogatory anyway. So it's like a cottage. It's like you imagine a kind of like an old couple in an English cottage eating crumpets, reading the newspaper, and they're all wearing tweed jackets and they're smoking their pipes. That's essentially what it means.
So the definition, it says adjective, British. So first of all, I didn't realize this was considered like a British kind of adjective, but it says excessively or affectedly quaint, pretty,
quaint,
or sentimental. I think I might be twee.
You are. You're the tweest man I've ever met.
Okay, well there you go.
Aaron Tweedicer.
Very nice. Okay, thank you for that.
I'm sorry. You said you are a fan normally, or you're not?
No, I'm not. Not usually. Overly saccharine.
Well, saccharine is a negative, right? Like that's a little different, right?
Not necessarily. I don't
know. Why do you have to label everything?
All right.
I do feel like it is used in more negative ways.
Continue on.
But I love this. This film just hit me. I can't even put my finger on what it is, but the pacing's fantastic. You can't root for Mr. Fox because he's objectively a bad person and a bad father and a bad member of his community. But the film that he's surrounded by is excellent, and it might just be George Clooney's voice. It could be just a great amount of voice talent in the film, or just the sudden what the cuss and cuss you and cuss me and cuss this and are you cussing at me? I absolutely love it. I really quickly, this is one of the things where I wanted to mess with the format too much, so I wanted to replace every swear with a cuss. And it was quite rightly said, you know what, let's do it once and not the whole way through, because that's probably going to get really old. Especially since it's just what the movie does as well. But I'm glad we got to do it in ASIN. But yeah, I love this film. My favourite running gag was they are not animals, because they're not. Like, for some reason, he keeps making a point that we're animals. It's like, no, you're not. You're wearing a jacket.
I was gonna say the one I had written down was, no, you are not. You're wearing a corduroy suit.
There's so many reasons why you are not a wild animal.
Yeah.
Could you just stop with that? Didelphidist was brilliant. That's just a universe sin. He just there as soon as the character says, well, there's not a Latin name for you. Well, yes, there is. And there's your sin.
Yep.
And yeah, I've got a mini keeping tabs for this one as well. But this was so much fun to write with Danae on this one. This is right up Danae's alley as well.
Yeah.
I think she enjoyed it.
I guess I can go next. I also love this movie. Unreservedly so. There's just something so sweet and fun and interesting about it. Even though, as you say, I think it's one of the things I actually like about Wes Anderson is that the unlikability of his characters, like you see in Fox here in the George Clooney character, is not grating. There's a human element to it that is kind of like we all kind of have things about us that are terrible. You know, we all have personality traits or, you know, things that come off wrong to somebody or can be annoying, that movies just have a tendency to group people in bad people and good people, instead of what is reality is that we're all humans and we make bad choices and good choices, and we may view some people's choices as more consequential in a harmful or good way, but that they're really, for the most part, the people we love the most in many cases, you know, have really bad things about their personality. Like, that's just, you know, it's just all of us, right? So there's something about how Wes Anderson approaches, I was going to say human characters, which is very Mitch.
They are human. They're not animals. Stop
correct,
it. They're not
correct.
wild animals.
That I really like. And this movie does it really, really well. It certainly has a lot to do with this, you know, feels more in my oeuvre, you know, with the, you know, just how gentle it is. You know, there's a real gentleness to this movie that I like. You know, his live action movie that reminds me of this energy is Moonrise Kingdom. I feel like Moonrise Kingdom is the closest he's gotten to a live action, you know, Fantastic Mr. Fox energy. You know, like there's something about that movie that feels really gentle, and maybe it's because it's about kids. You know, maybe that's part of it with Moonrise Kingdom. So yeah, I run a little hot and cold with Wes Anderson, but lately it's been all hot. I've been enjoying a lot of his stuff recently. So yeah, and this is certainly one of my favorites of his. I had to mention the, you know, calling lumping soccer in with Quidditch and as an imaginary game, and just doing it so subtly. It's just one of my favorite things. It was just one of my favorite things. I just really, really enjoyed that. So I wanted to mention that one.
Any opportunity to take soccer down a notch.
Well, because you talk about Ted Lasso as a British show, which it takes place in Britain, but it's an American show. Like it's one of those weird things too. But yeah, I loved it. I loved everything about that scene. Jonathan, what are some of your thoughts on the movie and the Sins menu and all that?
I echo. I love this movie. I think I'm maybe more of a Wes Anderson fan, but I will say when he fails, though, it is spectacular, like how far he falls, like with his bad movies. But it's the same way with the good ones, right? I mean, it's like he doesn't really have like, oh, that was okay. Like it's gonna be like, I'm really on board and I'm completely on this wavelength, or I'm just, you know, I'm watching
even the ones
Bill
that we
Murray
think
on a submarine
are completely terrible, though. Like you just mentioned Life Aquatic, or I think that's what you're referencing. I hate Life Aquatic too.
I don't like Darjeeling Limited.
I don't like Darjeeling either. I think they're terrible. I watch them. I'm just like, I was not invested in this at all. But I also feel that way, you know, about, you know, what I'm saying is there are people who love those movies. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those interesting things.
And I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they're not like Dune, right? I mean, you can kind of see, the 1984 Dune. You can kind of see where people are really, you know, vibing with them. Grand Budapest, I think, is his best film, though.
I think it's great.
Grand Budapest
I think it's
blew
great.
me away. But anyways, yeah, no, I love this movie. He's done this and what Isle of Dogs, I guess, are the two that he's done that are animated. I think I like this more than Isle of Dogs, although I do love Isle of Dogs. Isle of Dogs, but they're very different movies too.
Yeah.
My daughter actually latched onto this movie when she was younger, and she didn't get some of it, but I think she just liked the just the nature of it, right? Just the quirkiness and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, I love it, and I thought this video was great. This would be a really hard one for me to send, just because I don't know. I had such a hard time with Isle of Dogs. I can't imagine. I feel your pain if you had any issues with it. There's something about his style that makes it hard to like latch on to where the sin needs to come from for me. I loved the carpeted kitchens. Like, what is that? Like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I'm glad somebody pointed that out. Who would have a carpeted kitchen?
Yeah, that was Danae, and I think she felt it in her soul. I think she's been attacked by a carpeted kitchen at some point.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I liked you getting so irritated with the jar manufacturer, and then or getting so irritated with the way the jars were placed, and talking to the point where you were going to like call the jar manufacturer or fire the jar manufacturer, and then at the end it's just, oh, never mind, they're fixed. I also just liked the turn of phrase with "they're as wild as the Queen of England's fucking corgis." I thought was very nicely put. That felt like the sin that came from a place, so that's always fun.
It came from a place of, let's not get on this train, of Ian massively disliking the monarchy. So again, if I can sin soccer and the monarchy, I'm in.
I gotta say, I was just thinking today, as a complete aside that has nothing to do with anything other than you just mentioned the monarchy. I was watching that Queen Elizabeth had recovered from something and was kind of out of the hospital and going and doing stuff, and she has like 9 events that she's doing in October at the age of 94 or whatever. And I was just thinking to myself, like, if you ever wanted like an example of the power of privilege, like, just look at how long people live, how healthy they stay, that kind of thing, in the most privileged family in, maybe the world. I don't know. I found that interesting. I found that really.
You're talking about like the medical care she's probably getting.
Just
that
the
kind of
idea,
stuff.
just everything. Yeah, that you're just looked after in such a a different way.
What's your secret to long life? I don't really have a lot of stress other than walking the corgis and anything.
Yes, and I'm rich.
I'm not saying it's easy being in the public's. I'm not saying it's easy for her to be in the public spotlight, but you know what? All the money probably helps.
Yeah, probably. All right, I think that covers it. Those are the videos. Let's move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're going to take a look at some of the that's what we do here. We go behind the scenes of behind the scenes. We're going to take a look at some of the detailed processes of maybe some interesting searches we did, some deleted sins, whatever you want to talk about, really. Let's go with you, Ian. You had mentioned something about some deleted sins, so I'm kind of curious what you wanted to talk about there.
Yeah, I've got 2. One that I self-edited out.
Okay.
And then one that I'm really annoyed. No, I'm not annoyed. I'm not going to be Danae. I'm totally understand why this was cut. It's fine. I'm not bitter. But it's from Fantastic Mr. Fox. And the lead-in would have been, I understand what you're saying, and your comments are valuable, but I'm going to ignore your advice. And it would have just been Jeremy saying, USA, USA, USA.
Nice. I like it.
And the other one I had was from What If, and this was the one I self-edited out. And it was when Fury, I think Fury's getting out of the car, and he says something like, "I'm not afraid of a big swing." And the eventual sin was about Marvel taking a swing with What If and not going big enough, but I just wanted it to be a title of my sex tape.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Jonathan, what about you? What do you want to talk about?
I think that was one where we just had a lot of sends or something.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that one was really funny too, but it was just, I took out a lot of the normal stuff, like the running stuff.
Yeah, that's the easy stuff to cut.
I didn't have anything specific. Like, I didn't really look up anything all that interesting or funny. I did want to mention a couple of things, though. One of them was actually based on something from last week, because we didn't talk about the stuff from last week. But the Hello Kitty, the music video sends last week was Avril Lavigne's Hello Kitty, right? And so I just thought it was I thought it was cool because that is when I first started working on music video sends. I begged Barrett to schedule Hello Kitty by Avril Lavigne for like probably a year. And then he's like, yeah, we'll do it like maybe next month. And then we would just never do it,
nice. 6 years later.
And then this has been, like 4 years, right?
Yeah.
It's been like, I think it's been like 4 or 5, maybe 5 years now.
Yeah.
That might have been, that was the beginning of 2017. So I think it's been 4 years. And then like he forgot to even put me on the email this week. It's usually like when he's setting up the schedule or what he's going to write a script on that week, I'll usually be included on the email and stuff. And he just accidentally left me off, or maybe did on purpose. I don't know. But then like he said, hey, the video's coming into review. Can you do that for me? Because I got to go record. Oh, by the way, it's Hello Kitty. Completely caught me off guard like 4 years later.
Yeah.
But I was so excited that he finally did it, and he absolutely nailed it.
It's great that he remembers that too, right? Like it's great that he remembers that you were pushing for it, and it's like, hey, Jonathan, you want to review this one?
Because I'm not kidding. Like I bugged him about it a lot. Like I'm not. That's not a.
Of all the reasons,
I was like, no, we should really do Hello Kitty. It's up to like 200 million views or whatever. We should do Hello Kitty. But anyways, it's all good. It got done eventually, and
nice.
It's just I don't know. It's like one of the most fascinating music videos I've ever seen in my life. So
yeah,
I was very happy. The other thing, Ian wrote the sen, but I thought it was so funny because he wrote a sen about how like the little kid in Squid Game when dude's trying to do the claw machine.
Oh, yeah.
You wrote the sen about like the kid's like, just know what you're trying to get. And then so the sen was basically like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, know what you're trying to get. Like, how does that help you?
Easy as that.
But what's funny is that when my daughter was like, I don't know, 3 maybe, we were like at our local movie theater has like a little arcade area, or at least they used to. I don't know if they do anymore. I don't know if it's open right now. But they had a claw machine with all these, and this was like right after Trolls came out. So maybe she was like 4 or 5. But they had like all these like troll stuffed animals and stuff in there, and like trinkets and stuff. And she kept begging every week. We went to a movie, she'd beg for us to do it. And finally, my wife, after a few weeks, was like, we were always like, no, it's a scam. You're not going to be able to get anything and all that kind of stuff. And then finally, my wife was like, just do it, just so she can see that it's it's pretty impossible. I swear to fucking God, the first thing I did was snag this giant troll toy, and I got it.
Nice.
Very first try.
That's the worst.
And then, I was so excited, and then I realized, oh crap, like she's gonna want to do this all the time now. I think my wife was both ecstatic and a little irritated with me, but
understandable.
It's amazing how things like that will happen. I've never done it again, and finally my daughter got sick of them. Although they did put in this one, talk about a ripoff. They put in this one where you always got something, but it was like this little rubber ducky, and it cost $1 for like this tiny rubber ducky. But she'd want to do that every time because she got something, So it's like, what a way to get people to spend $1 on junk. They probably made a killing on that pre-pandemic.
Behind the cashier.
Yeah, exactly. Can I just buy this?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Let's talk some more Squid Game. We mentioned the Sinwon conversion enough, I think. We don't necessarily need to cover that too much. We just looked at the current, won to dollar conversion and figured if a sin's $1, then, a Sinwon is this many, So what's interesting is that changes, and I put this in the comments in the video as well. So this is our first ever sins video where the amount of English sins will be changing as the currency values change.
Awesome.
So
I love that so much.
Yeah, if you want to convert it to actual sins, that number will change through the year. So that was fun. I wanted to mention a couple other things. One is the decision to use the dubbed version because a lot of people were understandably like, the dubbed version is so much worse. We all agree. Like, I don't think any of us disagree. We all are original language people. The performances are great that way.
Because one of the complaints we got was that we called the main character by his surname, but in the dubbed version, that's what they call him. So that's what we went with.
I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's in the subtitles because that's how I went with it, was what was in the subtitles. Like what they were actually calling him.
Okay. Yeah, because that was the other thing I wanted to mention was a lot of people saying, that we were calling the main character by their surname. And in that is a difference in the cultures is that you say the surname first in Korean culture. And so that is often misunderstood. I kind of went back and forth in this in my brain. My first response was to be defensive. It's a very human response, and just be like, yeah, but we call each other by our last name sometimes. Like, it still can work. Like, it is it really...
we call you Dicer all the time.
Right. And then I was like, well, but that's also a cultural thing. That's also maybe not something they do in Korea. I don't know. And so I my brain kept shifting between being defensive and then being supportive and being like, yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, Ian and I had it written differently. Like, both of us wrote it different, like on different sends.
I think we say
like
it differently through the video. I think we say Jihan sometimes.
Might. I thought I changed them all, but maybe I did miss a couple because I finally just went with what they were saying in the dubbed version. Like, I was just like, because that's what we're going to be playing. Like, that's the audio you're going to be hearing.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was my final decision. That was why I went with the way I went. But
I'm glad we talked about it then.
But I totally understand why people are like, you're an idiot. It's like, well, yeah, but the dub version kind of sucks.
And we knew it enough that we had to sin it right off the bat, and that's why we have that sin there right off the bat. And that's where we come to the Korean translation that we do subtitles for. That Ian apparently doesn't want me to share with you. So blame Ian. For keeping this some sort of tease or secret. No, I know this feeling where you put like a little Easter egg in there, and then you're like, I want people to discover.
Oh, you're saying what it actually says. You don't
want
to
the
share
actual
that.
subtitles read because they don't match either the text or
that.
what the narrator is saying. Yeah.
Up until this point, nobody has either discovered that Easter egg or commented about it that I saw. So, we'll just leave it at that.
I want to see if someone does.
Yeah,
we'll reveal it eventually.
We'll just leave it at that for now.
It's probably Klingon.
No,
it's not Wedding
you are
Crashers.
incorrect. You are incorrect.
It says the next generation's Dr. Bashir or something.
It's complete.
If I had thought of that.
Yeah. Completely something that nobody would understand unless they listen to this podcast. All right, let's move into the comments section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to talk about some feedback from the week. Maybe an email, maybe a comment, maybe something from Discord, whatever the case may be. Jonathan's going to kick us off. What feedback are you looking at?
Yeah, I hope this is true. So this comment on the Dune video by Ray Dunnican said, I saw this in the theater when it first came out. As people entered the theater, there was an usher handing out flyers that were supposed to help explain what was going on in the movie. That's when we knew it was going to be a mess. God, I hope that's true.
That's got to be true.
I really want... It has to be, right?
We all
That's
want it
insane.
to be, for sure. We all want that to be true.
Now I'm upset I didn't go to the movies and see this. I might have that flyer still.
Imagine like front loading that experience and just like,
well, you've already got like Virginia Madsen like tells you like the entire story like in the first like 3 or 4 minutes or whatever. I mean, it's crazy the way they set it up narratively. But anyways, I just thought that was amazing. I thought that was hilarious.
That is great. I'll go back to the Squid Game video for my comment. And it deals with the dubbed, and I bring it up not to re-bring up the conversation between dubbed and subbed, but that this is an example of us sinning something that wouldn't have been a sin in the original language because the dubbed acting is a little different. This comes from Sadud, who says, it 100% makes sense that they would react to the English dubbed version. Thank you. Thank you for telling us that makes sense. Appreciate that. But at the same time, because some in the comments didn't think it made. But at the same time, so many of the sins in the video wouldn't be there if it was the Korean version, like the part about Ji-Hung's mom saying to remember the daughter's birthday. In English, it sounds like he hates her, but in Korean, he sounds angry at his mom for even thinking he would forget. Like that subtle difference in the acting between the two versions eliminates that sin. You know, like it's if you are,
because he does sound annoyed, doesn't as in or confused in our dub.
Well, in our dub, he more sounds like he hates the person. Like there's almost like a bite to it. So yeah, I found that comment really interesting and wanted to pass it along. And that's just something that, again, once the choice is made, here is the content we're sinning, then it becomes a sin because that is the content we're sinning. But you're absolutely right on a more nuanced view where you understand there's a different, acting that happens underneath that. I think that's worth mentioning, and certainly worth mentioning in the comments. I love it. So yeah, I wanted to mention
very
that
cool.
One. Ian,
and
what
there was
about
really
you?
no way of there was really no way of doing it the subtitled way, keeping it in the original language.
We went back and forth. Yeah, we wanted to.
I mean, we have done that on music videos.
But that's easier. It is
easier.
It's a shorter thing, and in many ways what the exact translation versus the words that they're saying. There's just with a longer piece of content, and we've already talked about it, but it's nearly impossible to do in a timely way.
Anyone that's partially sighted would really struggle because all they would be hearing is the Korean and lose what we're actually talking about.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Ian,
Very true.
What about you?
Well, my ass got actually'd up and down the internet.
This is the Thor stuff from What If, right?
Well, actually, he lost his power. And you're not wrong. And hand on heart, I didn't come at it from a he lost his powers point of view. However, even if he's lost his powers, that arrow did not have to kill him. It should not have killed him. There's no reason it did kill him. It still stands, even if he is mortal. Because, Hawkeye was going for a kill shot, but he was thrown off as well. So, cool.
It would have been written differently. It would have been written differently.
Yeah, I may have rephrased it a little bit. But I've now been told that I 100% categorically have not watched the Thor film. So I just need to reassess the time that I watched it.
Yeah, that's always funny when people tell you that you haven't done something.
Can we also say, now that we're playing Did the Comments Get It Right, which is my new favorite game, can we also say that Thor film, not in this universe?
Correct, but when he lands on Earth, that's after. Everything up until that point is still the same.
The same?
So him
and we
losing
know that
his
the
powers...
Watcher, does the Watcher ever say that? Is the Watcher ever like every single event up until this event is the same?
He doesn't not say that. That's us making a big leap. If we're saying that everything has changed...
If we're going to get in an actually war, then I'm going to throw out some actuallys too.
That's absolutely
I know, but
fair.
you've got Iron Man sitting in the donut. I mean, there's too many things. I mean, they clearly want you to think it's the same.
We sin the fact that everything that there's no butterfly effect. It's just like this one thing changes, but everything else stays the same. Yeah, it's wild.
But yeah, I stand by it. It's stupid. He shouldn't have died. If you're going to kill him, make it something spectacular. Make it really, really special. The man survived a supernova in Endgame. Or Infinity War, whatever it was. Come on, an arrow. From the world's mightiest heroes and Hawkeye.
All right, let's move into Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond!
Somewhere beyond my wildest dream.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we've seen recently. Jonathan, kick us off.
I watched Dune last night. I did watch it on HBO Max because I know this is like a thing of contention with people. You know, how dare you not go see Dune in the theater? I knew it's one that I probably would be interested in seeing in the theater, and I might still, but my laziness takes over. And I didn't have a lot of time this weekend to do things. I was just excited that it was available last night. That was like a surprise. I just happened to go to HBO Max and see that it was already on. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm watching this tonight. I really liked it. I was surprised, actually. I started to wonder if this book was just not very filmable. What I found most interesting about it, and I won't give too much away because I know you guys haven't seen it, and a lot of people haven't seen it because it just came out, last night, is that it follows a lot of similar beats to Lynch's adaptation. It's not making quirky, it's not making, no, listen to me. It's not making like inside jokes and stuff like that. It's not making like, shout outs. I'm just saying like it follows a lot of that structure, which is interesting because you find out that structure kind of works. Like it does work because it's really weird. Like you'll have very similar scenes like when the person's describing how to use the suits, which is this really weird, like almost sexual scene in the Lynch film. But in this, it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's better on every conceivable, imaginable level. And I don't know, it's not just like the effects are better, which they are. The cast is pretty equal. I mean, the cast in the 84 Dune is a good cast. I mean, here you've got maybe some better actors, but it's still pretty, I think, equal in that way. But I really do like the cast in here. I still don't know that I'm sold on Chalamet, but I think he does a pretty good job here. That character is kind of, I don't know, in the first book especially, that character is kind of, not bland, that's not the correct word, but it's not a character that's very emotive, let's say, from the get-go. So that probably does factor in a little bit to what Chalamet's doing with the character. But you've got like Rebecca Ferguson, you've got Oscar Isaacs. I mean, you've got a lot of really cool people in this movie. And the villains are just better than they were in the 84 one. They're more terrifying. You've got Dave Bautista and Stellan Skarsgård, I think. And I don't know. I really liked it. I don't want to say too much about it because I know a lot of people haven't seen it, but I like the world building. I'm excited to see if they make another one where they're going to go with this. I had a really, really good time with it. I quite enjoyed it. So It's a recommend from me. Yeah.
Nice. I'll go next while we're on HBO Max. You can tab over and watch the season 3 premiere of Succession, which just came out, and that'll be coming out weekly. Are either of you Succession fans or watch it?
I want to watch it. I've never started it, but it's on my list.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's on my list, high up on my list.
So Succession is a really interesting animal for me. It took me about the first half of the first season to actually realize in my mind what's going on, which is that this is a comedy. Like, this is a hilarious satire. This is a Mr. Burns spinoff live action. That's what this is, okay? Like, what is going on here is a lot of the similar satirical things that The Simpsons does with Mr. Burns, but in a live action, a little bit more grounded situation. It is about wealth. It is about privilege. It is about disconnectedness. None of these people are likable. None of them are supposed to be likable. That's the joke. That's what's hilarious, is how clueless they are to this stuff. It is also really well written. A lot of I think there's a real similarity to a lot of the lines that these people are given to CinemaSins jokes. Like, there's a transgressiveness to it. There's a crassness to it. Like they're figuring out new creative ways to swear. It's a really interesting show to me. And I think it was Barrett, I remember when it came out, watching a couple episodes and being like, I don't like any of these people. I don't like hanging out with them. And I totally get that. Totally understand that. But I think if a switch flips in your brain, it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to like, it's satire. I think once that satire switch flips, man, it's a lot of fun. There's just a real fun, interesting satirical humor to this show that I'm really digging.
Cool.
And I mean, great fun performances too. So
it's getting higher and higher on my list to watch.
Yeah, if you do get around to it, I think you're in for a really a good time overall. So that's Succession on HBO Max is back for another season after, like many shows, a couple years off.
And HBO proper, I believe. So
yes,
HBO.
Of course,
yeah.
Yes, also on HBO. Ian, what do you got?
I've done it before, and I'm going to do it again because I think this show is criminally underwatched, and it's a Star Trek show, surprise. But it's season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks.
Take a drink.
This show is
Ian recommends Star Trek. Take a drink.
There's going to be a break for a little while until Discovery comes out in a couple months. But this show is some of the best Star Trek ever put on screen, including The Next Generation. Aaron.
Can I say the episode that is Lower Decks for different Star Trek ships? There's an episode in season 2.
Yeah.
It's genius. It's so genius television. Done. It's so funny.
That one in particular. The show follows not your bridge crew, not your main characters. It is the Lower Decks, the people, the ensigns, the people that are just doing the menial tasks, like cleaning out the holodeck.
It's kind of a sequel, I guess. It's not a comedy in this sense, but there's a wonderful episode. Was that the 7th season? of Next Generation?
Yes,
Lower Decks?
correct. Yeah, that's called Lower Decks. It takes
that's one of my all-time.
vein.
That's one of my favorite Star Trek episodes.
It's excellent. And Voyager did one that was very similar, Good Shepherd. And it's just these. If we were in Starfleet, this is the jobs we would be doing. Odds are we wouldn't be on the bridge. We would be scrubbing the holodeck after Riker had done whatever he's going to do in there.
It's the B-team.
It's the B-team. It is.
No, it's like the D-team.
Yeah, fair enough.
The Z-team somewhere. But
I believe you mean the
funny.
team. The Z team.
I'm appealing to the audience, Mr. Dicer. So it's so funny, and it's funny in its own right. So you will enjoy the references, but you will not be put out because you didn't get them. There are still fantastic stories being told that are funny, great jokes. Who's the main character? I always forget his name.
Keep talking, I'll find it. Keep talking, I'll find it.
Yeah, you'll get it. It's just hilarious. If you're a fan of TNG and that era of Star Trek, you will get so much out of it. Yeah,
it's Jack Quaid. Voices
Jack Quaid,
Boimler,
who's also in The Boys as well.
Yeah,
he's going to be in the new Scream movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, as a voice actor, he's does such a good job in this. Cannot recommend it highly enough. Season 2's just finished. It's getting a season 3 as well. Just watch it. It's fun.
Nice.
And he's Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son. I guess that would maybe be a good thing to mention.
If you want a little context. Yeah, absolutely. That is, I typed it out as lower drinks. No, that is
now that Ian has finished talking about Star Trek, you may lower your drink.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is Star Trek Lower Decks on Paramount Plus. I believe is where you can check that out. Succession is on HBO Max, and Dune as well as in theaters and on HBO Max. That's gonna do it for Behind the Scenes this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. If you've got anything you want to send us, you can mail it to us. P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri 65738. You can also hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. He is at Galactic_Dave. And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Ian Whittington, an unclaimed Stitch doll, and myself, we will see you next week.
Nice.
Happy Halloween.
Hey, you got a nice easy one.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
Hello.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
What's up?
Hey.
Oh, so Ian's got the prison wall behind him like I used to have. I love it.
I'm recording from a slightly different place today, so let me know if my audio is a bit squiffy.
Where are you?
I'd have to first know what squiffy means, and then I can tell you if your audio is squiffy.
Are you like at a one-night stand's house or something?
Yeah, but I managed to bring 2 laptops, my recording equipment, everything,
amazing.
Just in case. I'm prepared. If you're
gonna have a one-night stand, you got to be prepared. That's what they tell you in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, prepared with cameras and a firearm if possible. All consensual. It was fine. No, I'm actually in London. But I managed to bring everything with me.
You sound like you're from London.
Like from London.
I do, don't I? That's great. Yeehaw. I'm just visiting a couple of friends. So I've got a friend that's come over from Ireland. So I picked him up from the airport, and then we've both driven to... Well, not both of us. Only one of us. Well, I drove us to another friend that lives in Kent, which is just outside of London. But
which island did he come from?
Ireland.
There you go. Nicely done. So, getting back to the important stuff, what does squiffy mean?
Squiffy. I've used squiffy enough that you know what it is, surely. It's like...
context clues. Context clues would lead me to believe it's bad or, some sort of negative word. But sometimes words have distinct correlations. So, is it a word used specifically for audio? Could video also be squiffy? Because your video is squiffy. Your audio is not squiffy, but your video... If I'm understanding the word.
Is my video a bit squiffy?
A bit squiffy.
Squiffy's ubiquitous with it's just everything. Anything. My dinner can be squiffy if it was a bit undercooked or it was a bit off. It's just to describe anything that isn't right.
So a bit
anything that isn't right.
Not
a huge amount. Yeah. It could be anything. Like Dune 1984 could be a squiffy film, and that's hugely bad.
Okay. All right.
So there's not really it's not a volume of squiffiness. It's not quite right.
So
it's not one that's in the dictionary.
I'm trying to think of an English word that would mean squiffy.
Well, squiffy is an English word that would mean squiffy.
Like my audio jacked
sketchy.
up? Sketchy. That's good. Yeah.
That's probably the best one. But sketchy usually means something dangerous, doesn't it? Or kind of like illegal-ish.
Yeah.
It's a little off, like you're not sure of it. But I do think it's funny that Aaron's like, let me think of an English word. It's like, Ian's speaking English. I didn't know if you were aware of that. But
you want an American word, and...
Yes, correct.
You bastardize plenty of those.
Correct. No, I think America owns English now. I think we have to call... Even though your country is England, I think we have to call your language something different now. There's more of us now. Like, it's just how it works.
Yeah, in the history of colonialism, it's all been about numbers. Yeah, just attrition. That works out really well.
British. You speak British. We speak English.
Yes, good.
You couldn't say like here we would say somebody who is like a sketchy person, is sketch. Like you wouldn't call somebody squiff. Like that guy's a little squiff.
No, because squiffy is quite endearing. So if they're a sketchy person, that's somebody to keep an eye on. If they're squiffy, that's kind of like, he wears his hat to the side instead of forwards.
Nice.
Like it's something endearing.
Quirky.
It's not necessarily he's
like
a criminal.
Quirky.
Yeah, quirky. Is my audio a bit quirky?
Yes.
God, that's 10 minutes of my life I'm never getting back.
Listen, that is the best 10 minutes I've had this week. That was so much fun for me. So is there no like free public Wi-Fi that's like super speed there in London?
Yes, I'm in London, but I'm in a house as well. I'm not like in a Starbucks. I haven't just set up in a
My idea of London is it's always like dead center, like right by the bridge and the tower.
I can see
Big Ben, Parliament.
Yeah. Exactly. I can see that big clock.
Yeah.
That's the only funny scene in your... Well, that's not the only
try to do this from memory.
Vacation.
Elizabeth Tower? Is that what it is?
I believe so. I don't care
because it's not Big Ben, right? Like it's Big Ben is actually is the clock part or something weird, right? Like
the clock.
This
the
is
clock face. Yeah, no. The clock face itself is called Big Ben.
Is Big Ben,
right.
Correct. The tower is Elizabeth Tower. So.
Correct. Yeah.
This is why Ian hates Americans, because we ask dumb questions.
There are so many other reasons. Don't worry.
This is way down the list.
This is way down the list.
Curiosity and education is way down the list.
I'm trying to think if we have anything like that here. I'm trying to think of anything where people just call it the wrong thing and we just let it go. That's weird. You think you would correct people.
You've got the Big Apple, and it's not.
It's not actually an apple.
That's a nickname.
Listen, I've been to New York. That is not an apple, guys.
Everyone
I know
just
what an
accepts
apple looks like.
that it isn't an apple. It's bizarre to me, and yet you still call it that.
This is different. This is clearly different. But people will still... I think most people would still call the tallest building in Chicago Sears Tower. As opposed to whatever it is now, Willis Tower or
Willis
that
Tower.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I couldn't remember. My daughter actually looked that up the other day because I couldn't remember what it was called. But yeah, it's Willis.
So that's different because that's a renaming. But
yeah, that's true. Oh, I see. Because it's the same. It's just called Willis now or whatever. Yeah, no, I know that. I guess that makes sense. I guess that'd be similar. Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of similar. All right.
I don't know. That's crazy. I did learn something every day.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Learning is fun. Nick says, well, when Aaron is known for having heart attacks, we can't help but think the worst. Is that what I'm known for? Am I known for having heart attacks?
We're at a place where we can joke about it.
I think you're going to be known for some pretty wicked impressions.
That's right.
In a week or so.
Yeah. If you listen to the Boney Pod, you will hear some amazing impressions from the three of us.
Yeah. Well, from one of us.
Well, listen, that's very nice of you to say, Ian. Ian, that's very nice of you to say about me. But really, honestly, you guys did really good too. So,
yeah, your Helen Mirren impression was just uncanny.
Thank you. I've been working on my Mirren and my Dench for quite a while, and I'm glad that
Marcel Marceau was the best.
Working on your Dench sounds like something very different.
See, Apathy says you're not known for it. Thank you, appreciate that, Apathy. Josh says, that's what I told my wife too. I was worried about Aaron. My goodness, I didn't know it was specific to me. JCD says, I wouldn't say heart attacks. I think Aaron's known for his heart deciding to take a break. Thank you, JCD. That's actually a good clarification. I actually don't have heart attacks, technically. The 2 times I have died.
Singular.
It's only happened twice, guys, by the way. The 2 times I have died, my heart stops unexpectedly for a genetic reason that they don't know how to fix. So yeah, that's what it is. That makes it all better, I'm sure. But
yes.
anyhow.
Who hasn't died twice? God, fucking bragger.